Hey everybody, welcome to today's video called I Love You. Now I'm not just throwing that out there, but what I'm going to be doing today is teaching you how to say I love you in Chinese and how to write it in the Chinese characters. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. By the end, you're going to be able to write this all by yourself. Before we get into that though, I'd like to point out a couple things that I like to use that have helped me learn and study Chinese over the past years, and I think it'd be really helpful for anybody in pursuing learning any language, but Chinese specifically. So the first thing that I would like to suggest is just a Chinese character dictionary. This thing has tons of different characters, 3,000 of them, sorry. And you're going to be able to look up anything that's very common, popular, and used in day-to-day language and speaking. So that's your first kind of key to learning. Second thing, get yourself a notebook that you can practice writing, and you can make notes for yourself and write down things that are going to help you learn. This is my character journal. So what I've done here is made lines down all my pages so that I have a ton of little squares. And then I've just written each individual character across each line there and practiced for hours and hours. This notebook represents tons of time that I've spent practicing writing characters and putting the time into study. Obviously, you're gonna have to put time into anything that you want to get good at and study, especially a language. And ideally, you're gonna be able to practice speaking with other people. But for today's lesson, we're gonna be focusing on writing. This is actually like a calligraphy pen. It's really fun to practice with these things. Comes out with kind of a different look to your character, and you can practice manipulating your writing and how it turns out. So with those simple things, we can get on and get started with this video. So first, let's learn how to say I love you in Chinese. Okay, so it's really simple. It's 3 syllables. 我爱你. Okay, and just like what I've written down here, that's exactly what it means. So 我 is me, or I. I means love or to love. And then 你 is you. Okay, notice here the little tones that I've written on the top of these words on the pinyin here. That is the guide of how to pronounce these characters. Okay, so that's kind of the romanization of these characters. So to let you hear what it sounds like in just, straightforward, it says 我爱你. Okay, practice saying that a couple times, get used to it, and kind of look at these characters and kind of get used to what they look like, because we're going to learn how to write them right now. Okay, so let's start with the first word, which is I, or 我. I'll write it out for you guys so you can see it. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now let's break it down into the more, I guess I'll just write it slower so you can see how it kind of comes to be. So you start with this line here on the top, just like that, and then a longer line right underneath it. You bring a line right down from there and hit a line hatching across it. And then you bring a long swooping line that kind of angles away and then has a little kick up at the end. You hit a line in that corner here, and then you bring the very last stroke down from the right middle to the bottom middle. Okay? And just to remind you, this is pronounced 我, and it means I. Okay? Now the next character is I, or love. Okay? So the way we start with that is like this. Actually, I'll show you a quick version and then we can go through it slower. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so that's a little faster and kind of sloppy. Okay, I'll go through it slow. So first you start with this top hatch that's a little bit small, and then you do 3 little dashes underneath it. Then you bring this in and you cover it, or you put a little line under it like that, and then you throw in this heart right here. This means heart. this character within this character of love. Now to finish up the character, you start with a little swoosh right there, come over, and finish it just like that. The way you pronounce this one, if you can remember, is I, okay, with a down tone. And it means love. Okay? Now the last one is you, or ni. Okay? The way you write that, nice and simple, just like that. Okay? So a little slower version. Longer line, shorter and bring it across. And then you fill it in with these two lines right there. Okay? The way you pronounce that one is ni. Okay, and that means you. Okay? So, just a little recap. 我爱你. Okay? And I'll write them out for you guys one more time. "我爱你." All right, there you go. All right, guys, and we're back to here. So, just a couple last few pointers before we wrap up the video. You can write something out like this and just trace over it and over each individual line and just practice writing each character out several times. You know, you can keep tracing these same characters. And what I've done that's I found really helpful is to say the characters out loud as I'm writing them. You can either repeat them over and over in your head as you're writing it, or out loud is what I mean, or you can just do it once for every time you write the character down. So if you do that, you know, the repetition of getting the practice in is along with writing each character down, you know, you're going to start making connections within your head and it's going to start clicking. And then once you come across these words again in your other studies, you're going to be able to remember them easier. And as you remember the words of how to say them, you'll also remember the structures of how these characters look and how you write them because they're connected to the speech that you've learned. So those are some tips and tricks on how to learn writing I love you in Chinese. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, just let me know.